I will give the coaching hat to her as much as she wants, to be quite honest. So, we're going to play around with it a little bit. It'll be fun to, I think you've seen it with the Fever. She's been very active on the sideline when she wasn't playing, so we'll utilise that as well.
Sandy Brondello just handed Caitlin Clark the kind of praise coaches dream of. Meanwhile, Stephanie White's probably watching with a raised brow. The Liberty coach is out here saying Clark can run the show and call plays. Things are heating up fast.
So lads, every single team in the WNBA wants Caitlin Clark on their team. Except for maybe.
Here we go again. Everyone wants Caitlin Clark, maybe except her own team. Sandy Brondello just dropped a masterclass in subtle shade, hyping Caitlin like she's recruiting her mid-season. She even said Caitlin's getting the coaching hat in the All-Star game. Somewhere in Indiana, Stephanie White's probably wondering why it feels like she's the one being replaced.
Coach, obviously, Caitlin Clark out of the game, but she's expressed her desire to help you out. From the coaching perspective, have you gotten anything about maybe her traits as a coach?
Yeah, not yet. No, obviously unfortunate about Caitlin's not into this game, but she's going to still have a great impact on this team. I will give the coaching hat to her as much as she wants, to be quite honest. So, we're going to play around with it a little bit. It'll be fun to, I think you've seen it with the Fever. She's been very active on the sideline when she wasn't playing, so we'll utilise that as well.
Let's pack Sandy's words. I'll give the coaching hat to her as much as she wants. It'll be fun. Sounds playful, but let's be real. It's loaded. When another coach gushes like that about your star, it hits different, especially if your own calls have been under fire all season.
Sounds of the game with Captain Caitlin Clark.
All right, Gabby, you dribble off. Sabrina's going to come set you this. You're going to skip it right when she sets it. Asia, you're coming to clean her up. We're getting this 4-point shot. Kelsey, where's Kelsey? I like that. You're passing it right to Sabrina for the three. I diagrammed this play. I diagrammed the play.
Sandy Brondello is treating Caitlin Clark like the hoops genius she is, while Stephanie White fumbles rotations and plays injured stars in games that are already won. The contrast couldn't be louder. Sandy's out here saying Caitlin's impact goes beyond playing, basically that she's more valuable on the bench than most players on the court. That's the kind of respect Clark should be getting from her own coach. Sandy even praised how engaged Caitlin is when sidelined, like she's prepping her to run a team. It's not just an all-star moment, it feels like a sneak peek of a Liberty future. Brondello's letting her call shots, showcasing how a real coach empowers a generational talent. Meanwhile, White's in Indiana looking like she missed the memo. And the timing? Impeccable. With White under fire, Brondello's making it look effortless, highlighting Clark's leadership and IQ like a pro. When's the last time White did that? The Liberty's pitch is clear, and it's happening in front of everyone.
New York Liberty. The New York Liberty sent their mascot in. The New York Liberty sent their mascot.
The Liberty are running a masterclass in subtle recruitment. Their players vibe with Caitlin Clark, and now Sandy Brondello's practically pitching herself as her future coach, without making it obvious. It's smooth, it's smart, and it's working. Brondello isn't selling drama or chaos, just showing Caitlin what it feels like to be truly respected by a staff that gets it. Meanwhile, over in Indiana, Stephanie White is scrambling, missing injury updates and fumbling game decisions, while Sandy's out here calling Caitlin the smartest person in the room. And honestly, she probably is. Her basketball IQ is elite, and any coach with sense would lean into that. Sandy's even miking her up to coach during the All-Star game. That's not just a nod, it's a spotlight on what the Fever are failing to use. While Stephanie's stuck in crisis mode, Brondello is rolling out a red carpet. The Liberty stars, from Sabrina Ionescu to Breanna Stewart, treat Caitlin like royalty, and the message is loud and clear. This is what it looks like when a team truly values you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're good friends. Like, I've been able to talk to her a lot kind of through this, process. And honestly, I've kind of went through something similar in my career. I mean, my first year I didn't play due to injury. And then second year I had like 3 to 4 soft tissue injuries that I was dealing with. And it's kind of, you look back and it's a blessing in disguise because you're able to just learn and grow and, understand it's all part of your journey, and you just got to, continue to figure out what you need in a pro career. And so, just trying to be that kind of soundboard for her and that voice, having gone through something kind of similar, and, knowing obviously it's really unfortunate that we don't have her, but she means a lot more to the game than just showing up and playing. And I think you're able to see that with just the excitement in Indy right now.
Compared to how her own team has treated her, this is night and day. Sandy's joke about never being traded but loving this coaching trade says a lot. She's clearly already imagining what it'd be like to coach Caitlin full time.
Really care about individual play.
And I got traded, yes. My son hit me up after he goes, I've created history. This is awesome. I got traded as a coach. But look, I get to coach with Sabrina. I'm on Caitlin Clark's in Indianapolis. I mean, what a great show. So we'll go out there. And
the Liberty are perfectly positioned to go after Caitlin. They've got the talent, coaching, organization, and market the Fever can only dream of. Sandy's handling of the All-Star game is just more proof. While she's praised for empowering Caitlin and making things fun, Stephanie White is criticized for underusing her and missing injuries. Media is raving about Caitlin's coaching role, her strong league relationships, and her smart team picks. Meanwhile, the Fever look like a mess. Caitlin's energy with Sandy versus her regular season vibes with Indiana says a lot. Sandy's approach, respectful, strategic, and joyful, highlights everything the Fever are lacking. And the Liberty? They've been openly recruiting Caitlin with class, confidence, and competence. The Liberty are showing Caitlin exactly what a professional, well-run organization looks like. From top to bottom, it's competence, respect, and smart basketball. And it's clearly a recruitment pitch that's working. Sandy's approach feels effortless. She treats Caitlin like the basketball genius she is, sharing coaching duties with confidence and respect. That kind of leadership draws great players in. Meanwhile, Stephanie White's likely wondering why she didn't tap into Caitlin's IQ sooner, too busy managing the chaos in Indiana. Sandy's playbook is simple but powerful. Trust your star, make things fun, and let their strengths shine. The media is loving it, and so is Caitlin. Her excitement says it all. This is the kind of environment where she thrives. The Liberty are making their pitch without saying a word, just by showing how it's done. The difference between Sandy's confident leadership and the Fever's ongoing chaos couldn't be clearer. While one team looks polished and prepared, the other seems stuck in survival mode. Sandy letting Caitlin coach during the All-Star game is going to be must-see TV, a masterclass in how to actually use a generational talent. It's a lesson for everyone. This is how you handle stars, build trust, and run a competent organization. And it's all happening with the whole basketball world watching. Sandy's relationship with Caitlin is on full display, while Stephanie White is left on the sidelines. This coaching dynamic just got a whole lot more interesting.
In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint, get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
The Indiana Fever were on fire. They steamrolled Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. They outclassed the Minnesota Lynx to claim their first Commissioner's Cup title. They obliterated Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. 3 wins in a row. The hype was real. Everyone assumed they'd cruise past the Los Angeles Sparks, even without Caitlin Clark. The Sparks are arguably one of the weakest teams in the WNBA, but what followed was infuriating. The officiating was so atrocious that Stephanie White could only utter 5 words that exposed everything broken in this league.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half. And I have everything.
The Fever entered this game without their brightest star, but no one saw what was coming. Caitlin Clark was out with a left groin injury. It was her 5th consecutive game on the sidelines. The team's whole offensive rhythm hinges on Clark's ability to create plays. Without her passing instincts and scoring danger, the Fever transformed into an entirely different squad.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It really is a day-to-day thing. And I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. It's anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer, and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So, we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
But that wasn't the end of it. Damiris Dantas was away representing her country in the FIBA Americup. Her absence forced the Fever to reshuffle their rotations. They lost a vital contributor who offered both size and veteran presence off the bench. Then came the bombshell. DeWanna Bonner had quit the team entirely. 3 critical pieces gone in one brutal stretch. Now here's where things got wild. Even with all those setbacks, the Fever were still overwhelming favorites. ESPN's matchup predictor gave them a 72.9% chance to win. MGM had them favored by 6.5 points. Everyone believed their remaining firepower would be more than enough. It made sense. The Sparks are undeniably one of the WNBA's worst teams. They've struggled from the start. The Fever were fresh off an epic 3-game win streak. Aaliyah Boston was on fire. Kelsey Mitchell was emerging as a true leader. The team's chemistry looked rock solid during those dominant wins.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell. Not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2. It's good recognition.
But something was simmering under the surface. Without Clark, the Fever's pace had dropped off a cliff. The ball wasn't zipping around with the same intensity. Boston wasn't seeing enough touches to take over in the paint the way she's capable of. The offensive rhythm that thrived under Clark's direction began to unravel. Sure, the Fever still had multiple players with all-star potential. Meanwhile, the Sparks were barely staying afloat on most nights. How on earth could Indiana lose this game?
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? Phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul.
The expectations couldn't have been higher. Everyone assumed sheer talent would make up for the missing pieces. The Fever had already shown they could win when it mattered. They still had championship-caliber players on the floor. The Sparks were expected to be easy pickings for a team with Indiana's remaining arsenal. But this perfect storm of absences set the stage for a meltdown. The chemistry that had looked so tight during their win streak was anchored by Clark's leadership. Without her orchestrating the offense, the cracks began to appear. Role players who thrived in clear roles were suddenly asked to do too much. The pressure mounted fast as the game opened, with all these setbacks dragging them down.
What does it take to get a team to be more consistent, especially from you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. There's always got to be a high attention to knowing personnel. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of practice time, and so going over a lot of their sets, which you do. But at the end of the day, making sure we know our personnel, who we're going to run off the 3-point line, what we're willing to give up, We've got to make sure that there's a high attention to detail there.
Even with the team stumbling, 3 players flat out refused to let the Fever collapse without a battle. Aaliyah Boston was an absolute force in the paint from start to finish. She racked up 23 points and 12 rebounds in a performance worthy of a win. Boston hit 9 of her 17 shots and sank 5 of 7 from the line. When it mattered most, she finally got the ball and reminded everyone why she's such a dominant, one-of-a-kind talent.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound, rolls it in and a foul. The 2 bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace? That burst like a guard gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell rose to the occasion in Clark's absence. She poured in 19 points and drilled 3 clutch three-pointers when the team was starving for offense. Mitchell also hit a major career milestone, appearing in her 251st game for the Fever, second only to Tamika Catchings in franchise history. Her leadership was on full display all night, keeping Indiana in the fight against a team they were expected to beat handily.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes!
But there was more. Natasha Howard brought her veteran savvy and completely torched the scoreboard. She racked up 21 points and 9 rebounds, nearly securing a double-double. Howard was lights out, hitting 8 of 11 from the floor, including 1 of 2 from deep. She sank 4 of 6 free throws and delivered critical buckets on both ends of the floor when the team needed them most.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone, answers with a 3.
These 3 players shouldered the entire team, delivering championship-caliber numbers against a squad expected to crumble under pressure. Boston ruled the paint like the true all-star she is. Mitchell drained clutch shots that kept the Fever within reach. Howard's seasoned instincts sparked plays younger players simply can't pull off. Imagine this: Boston dominating inside, Mitchell sinking shots from all over, and Howard orchestrating veteran moves that kept hope alive. The comeback was within grasp. The crowd could feel it, momentum swinging unmistakably toward Indiana.
We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game.
Caitlin Clark is a menace, man. She literally kicked Cheryl Reeves off the team.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team.
We've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. Bee's going to take her coach. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Caitlin just gave her a straight up, man, forget you and get off my team.
Caitlin Clark just pulled the ultimate power move. She straight up kicked Cheryl Reeve off her all-star team mid-draft. No drama, no hesitation, just a clear message. No haters allowed. Fans are calling it the most savage moment in WNBA history.
The WNBA All-Star Draft was fun between Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier, the team captains picking the players, picking the rosters. But the most interesting aspect was the coach swap.
When the WNBA All-Star Draft started, everyone thought it would be just another fun, feel-good moment.
Caitlin Clark just made the funniest All-Star selections ever. She picked her friends. She made sure she picked no ops, as people like to call them.
Players would build their rosters, crack a few jokes, and coaches would smile politely for the cameras. But Caitlin Clark had other plans.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
As one of the 2 captains, she was automatically matched with Cheryl Reeve, who was set to coach her all-star team.
Cheryl Reeves, I get it. You have the best record in the WNBA so far. You want as many plays as you can on the all-star team.
That's just the system. The coaches with the top records get assigned to lead the All-Star teams.
The drama is going to come from Reeve having previously been critical on social media about the amount of attention Clark received relative to the rest of the league.
But anyone who's followed Caitlin's journey knows Cheryl Reeve wasn't just another coach in her story.
The same way you didn't give two about Caitlin Clark's fan base and all that, don't nobody give two about your crime. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're coaching Caitlin Clark's team, I don't understand why you had to make it a big deal and say, oh, well, this team's below us to have more plays and us and it's disappointing. And like, what are you talking about?
For months, Reeve had taken shots at Clark, dismissing her impact, downplaying her success, and even deleting tweets after getting called out for the shade.
You already kept her off the Olympics. Now you're going to complain about her having more teammates than your players on the court? Yeah, get the fuck off this team. Embarrassing. I know she was embarrassed. I don't care what nobody say. I know she was embarrassed.
Reeve's name was even linked to Clark's Olympic snub, though she denied having any official say. So when trade talks came up during the draft, Caitlin didn't blink.
To be completely honest, I love my team. I think they're great. I don't have any intentions of really trading any of them.
She leaned into the mic, calm and confident, and dropped a line that stunned the room. She said she loved her roster, was happy with her team.
But I think we've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. Bee's going to take her coach.
Then she added, I don't know if this is in the rules, but I don't really care. We're going to trade coaches.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
In that moment, she publicly fired Cheryl Reeve from her All-Star team and brought in Sandy Brondello, head coach of the New York Liberty and one of the league's most respected voices. A beat of silence passed. Then the crowd and players erupted.
And I love the fact she traded Cheryl Reeve. That's my favorite part of it all. She traded her coach.
Some laughed, some gasped, and even Reeve looked completely blindsided.
We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game. This is something you're agreeing to, Fee. There's no terms to this deal.
The ESPN crew scrambled to react, calling it one of the wildest, most unexpected moves in All-Star history.
Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
But Caitlin didn't flinch. With a smirk, she doubled down. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Yo, did y'all see Caitlin's face, bro? She was like, nobody cares. That is hilarious, man. Man, I lost my mind when they said that. Oh my goodness. Now, the way they were talking about it, it seemed like something that was premeditated or, predetermined before they got on live here.
That line lit up social media, with fans calling it the ultimate power move. This wasn't just a coaching swap, it was a message. Caitlin was drawing a line, making it clear she wouldn't take disrespect from anyone, not even a championship coach.
And Caitlin is making sure she's stone-faced. She's like, why did you say me, Bounce? I'm gonna get blamed for this.
After months of being snubbed, criticized, and undermined, Caitlin Clark stood her ground, making it clear she won't share a bench with someone who never believed in her.
With the WNBA, it's a little different because so many people are new. So many fans are new, that is. So they're just becoming familiar with a lot of these teams and a lot of these players. And last year, there was the Caitlin Clark versus the Olympics storyline. This year, of course, you don't have that as naturally baked in, but now Clark's going up against Cheryl Reeve, and Clark is clicked up with her Indiana Fever teammates.
The trade wasn't just approved, it was celebrated. Players, commentators, and fans called it iconic, flooding social media with praise. Many said it was long overdue for someone to stand up to the league's double standards and politics.
As far as the coach swap went, that again was going to be the most talked about and will be probably the most talked about thing. Here is how that went down on the ESPN broadcast between the two captains.
Starter for starter, reserve for reserve. The good news is you can't go wrong with this type of talent. Anyone looking to make a deal here?
For Caitlin, this wasn't just a draft day stunt. It was a bold, unapologetic message. She's here to lead on her terms and won't let anyone, Not even an assigned coach dim her light. Firing Cheryl Reeve in front of the entire league made that crystal clear.
I think Caitlin's got a better team. Because of, again, with Boston and Wilson, they're not going to get beat up inside. I love Gabby's versatility, and then I just think they got more shooting across the board.
Caitlin Clark shifted focus to what really mattered, building the perfect all-star squad. And just like her bold coaching move, she drafted with laser focus, teammates she trusts, players who back her, and zero room for haters.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabally, and she took A'ja Wilson with her third pick. If A'ja had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
The way she built her roster was a masterclass in confidence and awareness. Every pick made it clear this wasn't just about skill or stats. Though she grabbed plenty, it was just as much about loyalty and chemistry.
Fee, Stewart, Alicia Gray, Nneka Ogwumike, and Paige. They got 2 guards and 3 power forwards on that roster for Team Collier. Caitlin Clark actually has a complete roster to start her team. She's got Caitlin Clark at the 1, Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satou Sabally at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satou Sabally. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Fans quickly picked up on her strategy, dubbing it Team Vibes or No Ops Allowed. She made it clear, no room for anyone who trashed her or fueled the non-stop criticism she's dealt with all year.
Clark, Boston, Ionescu, Wilson, Sabally, Mitchell, Gabby Williams. I love Gabby Williams. What a player. Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, Jackie Young, Thornton, Kayla Thornton from the Valkyries. So Clark should have a very fast team there.
Her first pick made a statement. Aaliyah Boston. Boston isn't just a powerhouse on the court. She's Caitlin's fever teammate and one of her strongest supporters.
Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satou Sabally at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satou Sabally. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Next was Sabrina Ionescu, a veteran who embraced Caitlin during her rookie year when many stayed silent. Then came A'ja Wilson, the reigning WNBA superstar and an undeniable must-pick.
Other than A'ja Wilson, because as Ken Swift's graphic says, Team Caitlin, no ops allowed, except A'ja. We ain't stupid. A'ja's that good. Yeah, you're picking A'ja Wilson.
Even Caitlin joked you'd have to be crazy to leave A'ja off your team. She rounded out her starting 5 with Satou Sabally, a vocal supporter and champion of the league's new wave of fans brought in by Caitlin's rise.
And she had it coming. Now all we need is Caitlin Clark's team to win. And if I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but she definitely said Sandy likes to shoot threes and run. Like, yo, Stephanie White, you might want to be careful out there.
When the dust settled, Caitlin's starting 5 looked unstoppable. Her running point, Boston owning the paint, Sabally adding range, and Wilson dominating both ends.
When you look at it, I mean, Williams is really fast for a forward. Obviously, Kelsey's very fast. Citron's very fast. Jackie Young's one of my favorite players. Iriafen, a rookie, can get up and down the floor. Ionescu can help spread the floor along with Kelsey and Clark.
It was clear. Caitlin wasn't building a team to compete, but to dominate. Her bench picks were just as intentional, starting with Kelsey Mitchell, a loyal Fever teammate who's backed her all year.
Gabby Williams, she picked nobody that's tweeted a negative thing about her. She's picked nobody that has said a negative thing about her in the media. She picked none of her rivals.
Gabby Williams, who's never had a bad word to say about her.
She made sure there were no ops on her team. If she's played with a player before, like Sonia Citron, she picked her.
Sonia Citron, a past championship teammate, joined dependable players like Jackie Young, Kiki Iriafen, and Kayla Thornton, all fitting Caitlin's vision of positivity, unity, and zero drama.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabally, and she took A'ja Wilson with her third pick. If A'ja had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
Even more revealing was who she didn't pick. players who've publicly criticized her, tried to downplay her rise, or pushed the idea she hasn't earned her spot. She left those names to rival captain Napheesa Collier and built the kind of environment where she didn't have to question loyalty or look over her shoulder.
The picking between the players was a lot of fun, and Caitlin Clark also wound up with all of the Fever members on her squad as well, meaning Aaliyah Boston, Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell will be a trio in Indianapolis for All-Star.
In one night, Caitlin Clark didn't just draft a team, she sent a message. She knows who's real and isn't afraid to make tough calls to protect her peace and lead with purpose. This wasn't just about winning games, it was about earning respect, showing resilience, and proving she's built for the spotlight.
With the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever.
DeWanna Bonner just walked away from Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in a shocking move that rocked the WNBA. But her attempt to push for a trade to a new team has completely blown up in her face. Now, she's being shut out by the entire league. She's lost millions, and her once strong reputation is in ruins. This is the story of how a respected veteran unraveled her own legacy in just a few weeks, and the swift fallout that came with it.
She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group."
The news first came out through a polished corporate-style press release. The Indiana Fever stated they had honored DeWanna Bonner's request for a contract divorce. In her official comment, Bonner offered polite thanks to the organization and vaguely mentioned that, despite aligned goals, the fit just wasn't right. She wished the young roster well as they continued to grow. At first glance, it appeared to be a mutual, respectful separation, a clean professional break. But beneath that courteous veneer was a far messier and more turbulent reality.
If another team claims her off the waivers, she gets her full salary. She gets her full salary if another team claims her off the waivers.
Behind the polished language, a respected veteran was walking away from her team mid-season, unleashing chaos in a locker room, desperate for stability. This wasn't about a poor fit. It was a clear decision to abandon a group of young, impressionable players who had counted on her leadership, leaving them to face the overwhelming media spotlight surrounding Caitlin Clark entirely on their own.
I think that makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
When a player's contract is ended in the WNBA, they go on waivers. That gives the league's 11 other teams 48 hours to claim the player and take on their full guaranteed salary. In this case, DeWanna Bonner's $200,000 for the season. For a 3-time All-Star with championship pedigree, getting picked up should have been automatic. She was essentially a free veteran addition, a proven scorer who could boost a contender or mentor a young squad. The timer began, but when the 48 hours passed, the only response was silence across the league.
And look, I understand that's where she wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contract. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish.
Not one team submitted a claim. Every franchise in the WNBA assessed the situation and unanimously decided she wasn't worth the risk, even at no cost.
And she's only going to lose, she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut. Like they literally cap space magicked up. And as soon as cap space magics up for the Indiana or for the Phoenix Mercury,
that moment shattered any illusion of a mutual, respectful parting. It was a league-wide rejection, a glaring warning sign of how toxic her departure truly was. As the dust settled around her waiver status, details started leaking from behind the scenes. Bonner was allegedly pulling off a bold power move. According to insiders, she was directly contacting teams and urging them not to claim her off waivers. Her plan was to manipulate the system and steer herself to one destination, the Phoenix Mercury. The boldness of this strategy is staggering. We've seen top-tier stars like Jimmy Butler face major backlash for forcing exits. But here was Bonner, at 36, clearly in the latter stages of her career, acting as though she held MVP-level leverage. She wanted to dictate her next landing spot as if she were a free agent, conveniently ignoring that she had just walked out on a valid contract. She was trying to have it both ways, abandon her team, yet still control her future. But her master plan had one critical flaw, one that exposed the miscalculation at the heart of her gamble and turned her ideal landing spot into a looming disappointment. The Phoenix Mercury, the very team she had scorched bridges and alienated the league to join, were reportedly reluctant to bring her aboard. Sources revealed that Phoenix's front office had serious concerns about adding a player who had just showcased a blatant willingness to quit the moment adversity hit. The Mercury were riding high on the momentum of a young, hungry roster that had fully bought into the system and were exceeding expectations. Why risk unraveling that delicate chemistry for a veteran who had just proven she couldn't be relied on when it mattered? Bonner had left Indiana assuming Phoenix would welcome her with open arms, only to find the door wasn't nearly as open as she'd believed. The financial toll of this misstep was just as brutal as the damage to her credibility. By going unclaimed on waivers, DeWanna Bonner automatically lost the remainder of her guaranteed $200,000 contract with the Indiana Fever. When she finally signed with Phoenix, it was for a pro-rated veteran minimum contract for the rest of the season, bringing in roughly $80,000. The math tells the story. She willingly gave up over $120,000. This wasn't some calculated move. It was a disastrous, self-inflicted loss, driven by ego and an overestimation of her leverage. Her failed attempt to control the league's chessboard ended in a six-figure mistake, painting her as both selfish and deeply naive in the eyes of team executives and fans alike. But the consequences extended far beyond money and reputation. The real cost was felt by the person who needed her most, Caitlin Clark. When Bonner joined the Fever, she was promoted as the seasoned leader who would help guide the rookie star through the overwhelming spotlight of her debut season. In early practices and preseason games, Clark looked genuinely eager to learn from her, working hard to build chemistry and soak up the veteran's wisdom. Instead of offering that support, Bonner sent a clear message to Caitlin Clark and the entire young roster that when pressure builds and things get hard, it's perfectly acceptable to quit and walk away. It was a blatant act of professional abandonment. For one of the first times in her rising career, Caitlin Clark was essentially told by a respected veteran that she didn't want to share the court with her. That's not leadership, it's a betrayal of trust that left the league's brightest star and her team reeling. And this brings us to the most disturbing and controversial question of all. Was this entire move planned from the beginning? The timing is simply too suspicious to ignore. Bonner originally signed a headline-making deal with Indiana, placing her directly in the media frenzy that surrounded Caitlin Clark. For weeks, she enjoyed magazine features and packed arenas, reaping the rewards of the Caitlin Clark effect. Then, almost to the exact moment Phoenix miraculously cleared enough salary cap to sign a veteran like her, Bonner suddenly claimed the Indiana situation wasn't the right fit. It all feels less like a snap decision and more like a calculated scheme. Use Indiana for the paycheck and spotlight, then bail the instant your ideal team becomes available. If that's true, this isn't just unprofessional. It's a cynical and deceptive way to treat a franchise, its players, and its fan base.
Looks like she's in pain after that pass. had been dealing most recently with a groin injury.
Celebration quickly turned to panic at Boston's TD Garden after the Fever secured their third straight win over the Sun. As fans cheered, Caitlin Clark limped off, clutching her groin, the same injury that had sidelined her before. Cameras showed her in tears on the bench. What made it worse, refs again ignored the rough play that's targeted Clark and the Fever all season. Head coach Stephanie White is speaking out.
No update. Just felt a little something in her groin, so we'll get it evaluated and see what happens from there.
Yeah, just kind of to follow up on that, looked like she was kind of grabbing at her right groin area. Is that the concern?
Yeah, if that's the one she was grabbing at. I don't know which one it was, but yeah, I mean, that's it.
TD Garden felt more like Indianapolis than Connecticut as Fever fans took over, chanting, "Let's go Fever," throughout the arena. Though it was the Suns' home court, the crowd clearly favored Indiana. The Fever dominated 85-77 for their third straight win, led by Kelsey Mitchell's 20 points and Natasha Howard's 18-point, 13-rebound, double-double. At 12-10, they looked playoff ready until everything unraveled in the final minute.
Right here, she explodes, makes the backdoor pass, and immediately grabs the inside of that right leg. Yeah.
In seconds, everything changed. A routine play ended with Clark clutching her right groin in pain, then slamming her head against the basket stanchion in frustration, breaking hearts everywhere.
She walks down to the end of the court. You can tell that she's in pain. You can tell that there's something wrong. She goes to the, what's it called, like stanchion or whatever, the thing that holds up the basketball hoop on the other end. She hits her head on it. She is fighting back tears and she walks straight over to the bench. Now, when she goes over to the bench, she starts crying. And I've honestly never seen Caitlin Clark cry on the court except when she lost the national championship game. She keeps it together no matter what is happening. But you could just tell that something happened on that play. And it was either the pain of it, it was either like, here we go again, it was frustration.
Cameras caught a haunting image, tears streaming down Clark's face on the bench. Her pain was unmistakable. This wasn't fatigue, it was the same groin issue that sidelined her before. She'd already missed 5 games with a left groin injury. Now, it's the right one, sparking real concern about overcompensation and her long-term health.
Test, but right now on the bench after looking like she is in some pain.
The arena fell silent in an instant. Cheers turned to concern as fans and teammates realized something was wrong with Caitlin Clark. The joy disappeared from players' faces as medical staff rushed in. Coach Stephanie White said Clark felt something in her groin and would be evaluated. With the WNBA All-Star Game days away in Indianapolis, where Clark was set to captain, her status and Indiana's title hopes are now in question.
We probably won't get many details about the injury, but it was honestly just so heartbreaking to see because in that moment, she just looked so defeated. And Caitlin Clark is somebody, she hides it really well, and I don't know if hiding it or she handles it is probably the right thing to say. She handles the pressure. She handles all of the media spotlight, the attention, the expectations of how she performs on the court, the expectations of the ratings for her games. She handles all of that so well, and this season has just been so tough for her when it comes to injuries.
This injury highlights how the league has failed to protect Clark all season. She'd already missed 10 games with leg injuries, and now faces another setback. It all traces back to June 17th against the same Connecticut Sun, when the physical play against her first crossed the line and marked a shift in how opponents targeted her.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and J.C. Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down. Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
J.C. Sheldon poked Clark in the eye, and Marina Mabrey followed with a hard body check, both clearly beyond normal play. These weren't basketball moves. They were targeted, dangerous actions.
Then Mabrey came in with a bump.
And Mabrey's day is almost assuredly going to be done.
What cameras missed was the aftermath that fueled this revenge game. The incident created lasting tension, with players remembering every detail. Sophie Cunningham stood up for Clark, confronting Sheldon and Mabry right after their hits. Her actions showed the Fever's unity and determination to protect their star.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm going to give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
The league's weak response to those dirty plays sent a message. Targeting Clark was allowed. Fans and players felt she wasn't being protected. By the Boston game, the tension was obvious. Players exchanged stares in warm-ups, and the energy felt heavier. Clark played with a sharp edge, attacking harder and passing with purpose. Every possession felt personal.
Sheldon is going to keep the pressure on Clark. You see Tina Charles with the responsibility of guarding Aaliyah Boston. High hedge on the ball screen on Clark. Inside perfectly. One thing you know about Tina Charles, she has every shot in her arsenal.
Now Sheldon, the height disadvantage against Howard.
Yeah, good recognition.
Every possession had extra intensity. Screens hit harder, stares lasted longer, and players bumped after whistles. Refs had to step in more than once. This felt like payback, and Clark delivered until the injury. Then, questionable calls made it all feel even more personal.
Also something where she's never battled injuries in college. She's always been something who has been a very healthy player. And this year it has been quad injury, and then another quad injury, and then a groin injury, and now what seems to be another groin injury. Now, again, you guys, this is all from what we're seeing. We're just putting two and two together. Nothing has been confirmed, but it seems like she did re-injure her leg on that play. Now,
here's where it got ugly. The refs didn't just miss calls, they made things worse. Their poor officiating overshadowed the Fever's third straight win, shifting focus from the game to their loss of control.
there are multiple moments in this game that were so egregiously called, or there was no calls by the referees, and it's getting out of control at this point. And even Caitlin Clark's brother tweeted, "This one is on the refereeing." Like, there are people in Caitlin Clark's family who are starting to call out the referees because of how bad they have been.
The officiating was so poor that even Clark couldn't stay silent. Frustration built as obvious fouls went uncalled. She argued with referee Mike Price, who said something that clearly rattled her. In the third quarter, cameras caught her jawing at him on her way to the bench.
I'm not a good lip reader. I'm trying.
I got it. And that was Breon January, who is played 9 years in Indiana and now on the staff. And that's a live shot now of Caitlin Clark. He's still upset and wants an explanation from Michael Price.
And maybe at the timing of when that challenge happens.
Aaliyah Boston was slapped in the face, and Sophie Cunningham took an elbow to the back, both with no real calls. Tina Charles clearly struck Boston, yet refs didn't review it and only called a common foul, leaving fans stunned.
And this was probably the worst one of them all. This is Aaliyah Boston and Tina Charles, and they are battling in the post. And then you can see Tina Charles just kind of swims around and then throws Aaliyah Boston to the ground, like punches down on her. And she's on the ground, and that was not called a flagrant one. That was called literally a common foul, you guys. Hands up at this point. Like, I don't even know what the players can do because the players aren't being protected.
Cunningham took an elbow to the head with no foul called, leaving commentators and fans in disbelief.
I want to show you another play with Sophie Cunningham. So this one, she actually quote tweeted herself. As you can see, she's running up, and then Hartley kind of elbows her in the neck, and Sophie falls to the ground. Now, she reposted this, and she said, "They said I flopped, LOL." So I guess the referees told her that she flopped on that play, or the players, who knows. Somebody told her that she flopped on that play.
Frustration showed on every Fever player's face as missed calls piled up. It wasn't just Clark. Everyone was getting hit with no response from officials. Players exchanged looks of disbelief. This wasn't a one-off. Refs have let opponents play overly physical with Clark all season. Commentators even showed a highlight reel of uncalled fouls, underscoring the growing controversy.
There's been so many things, so many players calling out the referees, so many players calling out the physicality, so many players getting injured this season, from superstars to players on the bench, from season-ending injuries to rib injuries to concussions. There have been just so many things, and it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. This is a nationally televised game on ESPN, and it just doesn't get better.
Other stars get protection, Clark doesn't. She takes hits that would be fouls for anyone else, and even casual fans see the bias. The officiating was so bad, analysts called it one of the worst performances ever. Clark's heated exchange with the ref showed her frustration boiling over. Her brother Colin tweeted, "Make no mistake, this is on the referees." But it was Coach Stephanie White's post-game comments that truly exposed what's been happening.
What is your description of kind of the physical battle that Caitlin particularly faces, maybe within tonight's game or just in general as you've gotten used to coaching, or just what you see she's enduring physically?
Are you trying to get me fined again?
Stephanie White entered the post-game interview visibly frustrated and ready to speak out. When asked about Clark's injury, she kept it brief but pointed. No update, just felt a little something in her groin. So, we'll get it evaluated and see what happens.
I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. And I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. We've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
White's harsh comments about the refs pointed to a deeper issue than just bad calls. She didn't hold back, saying, "I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach." Having seen both sides, her words carried weight. She added, "I'm not exactly sure why, but it is what it is," revealing frustration and helplessness. White also warned that league-wide physicality has escalated, and now star players are paying the price.